looks
Hello.
like Mr. Frank Bello. How are you doing on this wonderful evening, afternoon? What do we call it?
I'm going to call it afternoon. I've been up since 6:30 with my son, school, all the good stuff. So yeah, it's definitely afternoon. You're feeling it right now. It's about time, 5 o'clock, just about that time for the cocktail hour.
Well said. The most important question I'm going to ask you is this one. For the record, is it Frank or is it Frankie?
My friends call me Frankie, an endearing thing. You can call me Frankie.
Yes.
People around me, when they get to know me, they call me Frankie. It doesn't matter. Just call me what you want.
Well, the bottom line is this. Long time fan of you and your work, not just in Anthrax per se. And it's wonderful to see that you've got a new book. Now, let me say it carefully because it's a lot of words and it's got alliteration in there. Fathers, Brothers, and Sons, Surviving Anguish, Abandonment, and Anthrax.
Yeah.
Did you know that was the title up front, or was that a thing that came to you later once you started writing and realizing you were going into serious topics in your life?
Well, my co-writer Joel McIver, he had it, and I as soon as I heard him say it, I knew it was right because once we got through the book, it was it was obvious to me. I mean, yeah, that made sense. I mean, I call it for just to make people's life easy, fathers, brothers, and sons, and you can read the rest later because you get it. You know what I mean? So for me, it's pretty easy, and when you read the book, you'll understand exactly what every one of those words mean.
For sure. You've always maintained a bit of mystery, while Anthrax has always been a band that's been out in the public. It's Anthrax is one of those bands that everybody knows, whether it was from the hit songs, whether it's from Married with Children and MTV and VH1 and Scott being a talking head on every I Love the Blank show. Anthrax has been one of the most out there kind of bands. But you, while you've been a very creative contributor to the band, you've kind of been in the background. Was that always by design that you want to keep up that mystery?
It's not even keeping up a mystery. It's who I am. I don't need. No offense to anybody. Scott does his thing. Charlie does his thing.
Sure.
I just do what I do. I don't need to be in a spotlight. I love being creative and making it rise to the top. You know, I like when
Sure.
people find out about it. I kind of think that's really cool. That's the way I've always been. So, and to tell you the truth, I'm not. You could tell I'm not a social media guy. My press agents on me to do more social media, but I'm more of a family dude, and it's like I'll do my stick and move kind of vibe and make it right. I don't think I have to be in the press every day. It's not my thing, man. I appreciate it. I do like watching other people, but for me it's stick and move and make it real.
Well, we were put together where this is going out and being watched by people from the Long Beach Public Library here in New York. A chain of libraries are seeing this. People are going to see us on television. It's that one interview you do where it just goes wide and the millions.
That's awesome.
Well, maybe the thousands,
Thank you.
whatever it is. I got a lot of questions from people who are locals here in Long Beach, New York. And the first question I have, did you ever come here to Long Beach? I would imagine you would have played at Malibu back in the day.
We've played Long Beach, sure, at Long Beach Arena. We played a lot of places. I mean, look, 40 years into touring, we've been in Long Beach. You know, we've done a lot of touring. I could look up somebody's actually done the amount of shows we've done in each city. I saw that online somewhere. Yeah, we've been pretty much. There's a lot of corners of the world. Long Beach is definitely one of them, multiple times. So, for me, look, I live in New York, which is about to get really cold and rainy and snowy. Right. So I long to be in Long Beach right now because I'm not into the snow anymore, dude.
The other Long Beach, New York, to clarify is.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking I'm talking about the other Long Beach. I apologize.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hold on 1 second? I'm having a problem hearing you real quick. I'm going to shut off this motor real quick. Hold on.
Take your time, man.
Can you hear me better now?
I hear you just fine as you.
Here's why. I apologize for that.
So Long Beach, Long Island, New York has sort of a metal connection from a lot of different directions. Like Rick Rubin grew up here, yeah. Doro Pesh was living here, Peter Steele from Typo Negative was living here, Tekashi 6ix9ine was living here, but people didn't really know that one. So I didn't know if you were going to say, oh, I go to Long Beach, Long Island all the time.
No, I can't say that I have. My mother used to live in Long Island, Franklin Square. You know what Franklin Square is?
Yeah.
My mom, my sister, they used to live there. So I've been stuck in traffic many a year. And I say year like that because we all know what we're talking about. Many a
Yeah.
year. You stay in traffic for years, it feels like. You never really leave. But yeah, of course. Now I understand where I'm at. So you know what happens when you do a book, and you know this, you
Yeah.
do so many interviews all over the country, all over the world, and you don't even know where they're at. And you kind of feel, oh, okay, Long Island. Ah, okay. So there you go. I apologize for that.
No, the bottom line is we're live, pal, as they say.
Oh, this is all good.
So the
Hey,
book,
I want to tell you something. That motor you heard just now, you see where I am? I want to take you where I am. I
yes.
live in Westchester, New York, right? So this is my basement. This is where everything. So that was a dehumidifier. That was been it's been going all day because there's really wonderful weather we've been having. So
Oh yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is a beach town, and whatever the weather here is usually 10 degrees colder than New York City, which is kind of a similar deal in Westchester. It's not the New York City climate. It's
Right.
usually a little colder,
Yeah.
more likely to get rain, and hence why your lyrics and your music and Anthrax are so dark. No, nothing to do with that. So
No, no.
back to you, Frankie. So the process of writing a book, I've done it. A lot of people have done it. It's usually 3 times the work that you think it's going to be. But ultimately, when it's done and it's out into the world, it's such a rewarding feeling. For you, how long did it actually take to not just think about writing a book, but writing the book?
Well, it's funny. Joel, my co-writer, Joe MacGyver, we were just going over this from the. I talked to him about this. It was 8 or 9 years ago that he'd done a book with my friend Dave Ellefson,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's done many books before. He's done a lot of great books that I've admired. And I said maybe we should do a book. Just in just email. Says maybe it's time to do a book. We've been talking about it for years. So about 8 or 9 years. He actually has the real date for it. He saved the email, and it's been talked about. And we've been on tour. Anthrax has been on tour most of my life. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of time. He's got his schedule. I have my schedule during this COVID thing, and we're still going through it, as we all know.
Yeah.
I just felt I was sitting in this chair, and I sent him an email. I said, "This might be the time," because we were just looking for an opportunity, and this was it. And we started, and this is you're looking exactly where I wrote my book with Joel, just like this, talking great stories. He's a great. I call him the igniter because he lights the fuse in me, and really and you really don't know what your mind. See, I thought I lost everything, to be honest with you. I said, man, this stuff is long gone. I hope I remember some stuff. Once he has a technique of really just lighting a fuse in me, and the stories just kept pouring out, which was a rewarding, refreshing, and all that stuff. But the whole thing of letting it go, you talk to go back to your question.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm raw, as you are. You know, when you write a book, you're raw. I talked about my life in this. This is
Yes,
I've
you
never
did.
been I've never been more open in my life. This was therapeutic, cathartic, uh, and really fucking scary. Um, the only reason why I say that is because there's stuff in the book that I didn't even tell my family or my wife about. They didn't know. Like after my brother's murder, and for those of the people that don't know, this is live right now. Unfortunately, March 25th, 1996, my brother Anthony was murdered in the
Yeah.
Bronx, New York. Um, the guy got away. We went through the Bronx criminal court system. It was terrible. But after his death, I kind of snapped and I went black. Really dark.
Hmm.
Um, I became a hunter. And that's not trying to sound brave and not trying to sound like I'm a man or a fierce guy and all that stuff. I kind of snapped and I went very dark and I didn't care about Anthrax. I didn't care about anything around me. It was just tunnel vision. I wanted revenge. And I never told anybody about that other than the therapist I went to afterwards,
Hmm.
multiple therapists. But I went dark and I went hunting and I went to the wrong people, talking to the wrong people that I never talked to before, got the wrong things in my hands. And we all know it without even saying it. And I was, for 2 weeks straight, I was hunting this vicinity in the Bronx where it happened. Uh, thankfully, thankfully, I never achieved what I wanted to achieve.
Hmm.
And 2 weeks into it, I started to really think about my mom and how and what it would have done if I actually would have done this. One of two things. Probably I would have been dead for retaliation and all that. You go back and forth, right?
Sure.
An eye for an eye thing. Or I would have been in jail. So in any event, my mom would have lost another son.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I wanted to do. So it really opened me up and made me see some light. And then I thought I would have lost my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. I would have lost my everything around me, and Anthrax and everything else. So it opened me up, and I stopped. About 2 weeks in, I stopped going out at 10. It was 10:30 at night. That was my time. And it was so dark, man. I can't describe it because it's nothing to do with drinking, drugs, or anything like that. It was just straight on, I'm doing this. And that's as honest as I can be. I've never been like, I never want to go back to that again. I don't want to be
Yeah.
that guy. You know, it's scary. When I learned about the human brain, you don't know you. You know, you really don't know who you are until something like that happens and really puts you in that. It's a zone, man. It's a zone. And I felt like that's all I'm seeing, man. And really, I don't want that for anybody. So again, with this book, people read it and people are reading it and getting some um, nice thoughts on it, and people are saying some
Yes.
nice words about it. If I can help anybody, and that's what it is about at this time in my life, it's about, look, if you could read this book and get something to make your day a little bit better, or just if you're in a down place, my thing is you could brush yourself off and move on with your life. That's what's going on here.
For people who dig into the book, Anthrax in your career has just been thing after thing after thing, setback after setback, and resiliency. Like, I would say there is no band that has been cool and uncool and back to cool more times than Anthrax. When you think about that, that's intended to be a compliment to the
Absolutely.
fans. It was always cool, but now this is one of those Anthrax is cool. What are you talking about? Periods again for the band. So
Thankfully. Yeah.
how is it that you've been able to keep that perspective to know to wait long term?
For me, it's all about persistence. It's who we are. Think about it. We grew up in New York. It's you never say die, right? And so there's peaks and valleys in life. Right? You live long enough, and you see this, right? At 56 years old, I see this peaks and valleys in life, career and life in general, right?
Mhm.
So you can be at the high, gold records and everything like that. That all that stuff can be taken away from you. Period. The music scene changes, crowds change, people change, and and we went through our peaks and valleys. And I think that a lot of bands who were around for 40 years, we're very lucky to be around for 40 years, go through that. And for me, the way I think about it, I read this book and I see some of the great times, and there's some great rock and roll stories in this book that I'm very proud of with my
Mhm.
friends, Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, just a lot of great stuff that we've been very fortunate. I mean, I look at it and it's all been worth it. I mean, yeah, you go through your down times. There's some horrible stuff that's happened in my life, but you know what? It's a ride. Nobody gets a free pass here, man. Nobody does, and that's kind of my message to this. I'm not trying to preach to people. This is my story. My thing is, look, I was on the floor, brushed myself off, and I want to move on. And I think that's important for people to know, especially in these times right now.
Well, I have a couple of things that I'm curious about as a longtime fan before I get into the
Yeah.
people who contributed questions. And the first one is Anthrax is a band of, how do I put this? Your singer is a better drummer than most drummers. Your drummer is a better guitar player than most guitar players. It's a very unique situation where you have the guitarist writing the lyrics in most of the cases and all that. So everyone overachieves. Everyone does more than it seems on the surface. Are you doing a lot more than playing the bass? And it's fine if the answer is no.
I would like to think so. Yes, I write a lot of the melodies in Anthrax and write music. This is music pieces everywhere in our career. Yeah, everybody does. Everybody has their role, and everybody does their thing. Scott's always written lyrics. Charlie's written music. I've written music. I've written melodies. We all do our thing. I think that's why it works. I really do. And Joey's a great drummer. Joey, he does his singing and playing at the same. He does a lot of bar stuff. He does cover
Yeah.
band stuff, and he's awesome at it. But I think everybody, we respectfully say that's cool. That's cool. Everybody's got their thing, and I think that's important for the longevity, and to know. Look, and nothing's closed off. Everybody's allowed to bring any idea in. It's never like that. Whatever works. And it's still like that. We're writing a record now. It's the same. It's the same thing as it's always been. So it's all good.
Then Anthrax is obviously a pioneer when it comes to combining rap and metal, not just the track that you did with Public Enemy, which is quite a story unto itself, but all that preceded the Judgment Night soundtrack. How did you feel about that soundtrack? Because let's face it, that really was the Anthrax soundtrack.
You went deep. You went deep just now. Wow. Yeah, and I appreciate that. You know, it's fun. You dip your toes into it. You know, and that's the way. That was a record company thing happening there. Would you like to do this? And that's fine. The PE thing was because the fans. I mean, we were diehard. You know, Scott got me into PE, and it's just so heavy. You know,
Yeah.
it's funny because we did Comic-Con a couple of weeks ago, and with Chuck D, and we were just talking about how long it's been and the whole beginnings of all of it, and how natural it was, and how heavy it was. The whole vibe of his voice, our music, it all really was simpatico. It really worked out beautifully. To this day, when I hear that song with Chuck's voice, as soon as I hear it, I say, yeah, heavy riffage, heavy voice, boom, man. It's just like that. So yeah. So I mean, we've always been like that. Anthrax has always done outside the box things like that. I think it's really important. So, and I think it's important for the future, because I don't want to hold Anthrax down. I don't even want to know. I just want it to come up spontaneously. Let's see what's next. Never put yourself in a box. So I'm proud of everything we've done, and I look forward to what else we have coming.
Where does being in a skit on the Tonight Show, Jay Leno, rank in the hierarchy of career accomplishments? Because growing up as a big late night fan, Leno was never my show per se, but I watched it. And the post 9/11 skit that you had, hey, not everyone gets to do one of those remote kind of skits like Anthrax did.
Wow, you are going so deep with these things, which is awesome. So yeah, that was at a studio. We did it at a studio, and you know what? It was one of those things because of the name Anthrax, right? Because Scott said a joke one time and said we're going to change our name. He made it in jest. It wasn't anything.
Was it Basket Full of Puppies?
Yeah, it was on the ticker of CNN that Anthrax is changing their name. That's how the news is, which is insane.
Yeah.
But there you go. It came out. Of course, we didn't mean that, but look, there was a big deal going on in America, that in the world with the whole Anthrax thing. So we had nothing to do with it, obviously. So it was a scary time, and people, of course, we were going to keep our name because we built this name up through our lives. And and then the great thing, we did this show in New York with Eddie Trunk here in New York,
Mm-hmm.
New York Steel, and for all the firefighters and first responders. And the great thing about that, we came on stage with jumpsuits on.
No, we are not changing our name. Love that.
You saw the picture. So it was awesome. So, and on the way to that show, going into the show, all the first responders were coming up to us. Don't change your name. Don't let them win. It was a rallying cry. It was really, don't change. They wanted, because they thought we were giving in if we changed our name. And man, let me tell you something. That put the energy into us in the biggest of ways. It was incredible, the power that those words had. So yeah, and the whole Jay Leno thing, he did a skit on it and all that stuff, and it was fun. But I'm not a Leno fan. It's funny enough. I don't know if you are. I'm a Johnny Carson fan.
Yes.
I'm a Letterman fan. Right. I'm that kind of thing, and Conan. I like that stuff.
But the bottom line is, if you were on the Tonight Show, you were still on the Tonight Show. And it's funny to go through the archives of that and see Faith No More on Jay Leno.
Yeah.
And David Lee Roth did his Vegas thing. I think that was only on Leno. So there were good things that happened on Leno in the music world, despite Jay Leno's comedy.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I have to say this about Jay. Jay in his comedy career, stand-up, he was awesome.
Yes.
When they watered him down, and look, come on, that's what happens. Networks do that. They watered him down. He just, they just took a lot of the stuff out, which kind of was unfortunate. But it doesn't matter. Nobody put any money in my pocket there.
For sure. Well, no, you got your what is it? Your
what is it? What is that price they pay?
The union minimum. What is that they call it?
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't a lot, but you know what?
Yeah.
It worked. It worked for that time. It was, again, another step in the career. So that's the way.
So that actually leads into one of the things that we got from one of our patrons. One of our patrons, should we call him Tom? We'll call him Tom anonymously.
Okay.
Tom gave kudos to you for your role when you played Richard Hell in the Greetings from Tim Buckley movie.
Oh, wow.
So before I ask about that, I'm curious, between that, Married with Children, the Leno appearance, the Law and Order cameo, did you get your SAG card?
I have my sidecar. Sure, I've had my sidecar for years, a long time.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I've done bit parts. Again, this all has to do with that, right? I put all this stuff in the book. I've studied acting for 20 years. I just, and I found out after all these years just why I wanted to do it. And it's not about fame, because fame is, we all know fame is a joke. It's all bullshit.
Sure.
So we've all, the fame thing, great, great. I just wanted to, I guess I wanted to learn about myself. I wanted to learn and it's all about being truthful. Acting, if you're really studying like the theater I did with Bill Esper,
Hmm.
the people I've studied with, it's all about truth and imaginary circumstances. It really is about being as truthful as you can be. And I think after a lot of therapy, a lot of therapy for this, digging into myself, learning more about myself, it really showed me who I was. And I think I'm, I'm pretty certain of who I am right now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So Tom's question that I hijacked was, what was it like playing Richard Hell? And did you need a lot of research before you did that? Or, hey, you were well versed in the punk scene and you knew?
I did in everything I do. I do research. It doesn't matter. I still did a lot of research, probably too much. Dan Algrant, the director, from the first day, from the first rehearsal with full scenes. He loved where I was, thankfully, and he gave me a couple of notes. I had a twist and turn, which I loved, and it was just a great experience. Penn Badgley was on that. He was starring in that as Buckley. I'm a big Buckley fan.
Oh, yeah.
So it all worked, and I'm proud of that. It wasn't the biggest role, but it wasn't the smallest role. It was right in the middle, and I was happy with it. And look, if I have more time, and my agent knows this, we're off now. So when we get out of this COVID thing, hopefully I can work more and all that stuff.
Next question comes from Sandra. I know the answer to this one, but please entertain us. Do you have any family members who are in the music business with you? There might be one in your band per se, but
Yeah,
besides Charlie.
yeah. In the music business, you know, no. Now my son sings. He sings all over the house. He doesn't do anything else besides school and singing. That's what his passion is, and video games, of course.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but my uncle Johnny played guitar. I think that was in the family, but he's passed now. But not right now. I don't know of anybody else. Scott's son plays drums and guitar. He's awesome. Yeah, and not right now. Yeah, so we'll work on that.
In the case of your son, with getting him into music, did you right away go Kiss, Van Halen, or let him find his own thing?
My thing is with my son, hands off with that stuff, because I put myself in his place with, I want my dad coming and saying, I want you to listen to this. I recommend stuff. I tell him every time we're in the car, I said, this is this band. This is a great guitarist name. I give him some knowledge of what the good stuff was. You know what I mean? I think it's important, but also he's into hip hop. He's into rock. He's into a lot of different things. He's into goth. I let him just flow, and whatever comes out, I want him to be him. I think it's important.
I've heard in Anthrax there's the contingent that likes 70s Kiss and the contingent that likes 80s Kiss. Are you in the 80s Kiss contingent?
I don't know anybody in my band Anthrax that is a big '80s Kiss fan. Just so you know, I know them pretty well, and look, they're all. I love. Gene
Yeah.
wrote the foreword to my book, so I'm a
Yes.
huge fan, as we all know. So I'm very thankful, and I love Kiss for what they've done for me in my life. But '80s Kiss was just not my thing anymore. It just went somewhere else that I didn't want it to go. But I still cherish those '70s records, and I listen to them all the time. Like I'll listen to them tonight and jam, whatever. Got to Choose. I was jamming Got to Choose about 1:30 in the morning upstairs on my acoustic guitar, just me alone. Lady, I was just going off, just going nuts, because that's what those songs do to me.
For sure. And hey, you did a big arena tour with Kiss in the 80s. We can't forget that
Great,
one. Do you,
great stuff.
there's a story I've heard three different musicians tell about touring with Kiss in the 80s. And I don't know if they're all repeating each other's stories or this happened to all of them. And the story is the singer of the band throwing a towel into the crowd during the show to psych up the crowd, and Gene Simmons coming up to the person after the show and going, "You owe me $20." Did that happen to Anthrax on that tour?
No, I can honestly say that I've never seen that. I don't know if it did, but for me, I can tell you I've never seen that. I've seen them throw towels into the crowd, but the 20, I never saw that thing. But That's interesting.
I've
No,
heard
but
that's from Ted Poley. I've heard Don Dawkins say that one. I can't remember who the third one is, but
yeah, I mean, I've been on a lot of side stages for Kiss. I've seen them throw the knot up and the towels and throw them into the crowd, and people just keep them. I've never seen the $20 thing come into effect, but interesting.
well, they're Gene's towels. You have to pay Gene for his towels. That's where the story goes with that one.
I love Gene Simmons. He's awesome.
He is, before I ask you the next question, I have to say most people spread the fallacy that he's this rough guy, but when he knows the camera's off, the teddy bear Gene comes out. And
He's so intelligent. Everything else, I can see all the great things, and it's true because
yeah,
the real. Hey, look, I've been a fan of Kiss forever, and it's in my book. Meeting Gene Simmons when I was 14, 15 years old, and him still being the idol that I wanted him to be.
yes,
That's a big deal to me, and he was very good to me throughout my life. So uh, I'm very appreciative for Gene and Kiss.
for sure. The next question comes from Gary. He said, ask Frankie. He said Frank. I'm saying Frankie because you crossed that friendship barrier. He said, ask Frankie if he likes Municipal Waste, if he's excited to have them on the 2022 upcoming European tour, and if he thinks they're carrying the torch of thrash metal into the new millennium. Sounds like three.
Yes, 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 and yes, and that's why they're on the tour. We all like them. That's going to be a great bill. If and I pray we can all get out and tour again, right, next year.
Yeah,
I want that tour to happen. We all want it to happen. I'm excited that they're on the Municipal Waste is on the tour. Of course, that's all good. Carry that torch. Yes, go with it. It's all good, man. So positive vibes, positive. It's going to be good times.
fingers crossed. Janine wanted to know some of your favorite music biographies. Can you name a few of them, perchance?
I like the Ace for Ellie. That was great because I'm a diehard Kiss fan. Jeans was great also. I always look into people that I grew up on, stuff like that. Um, I I like when people speak for themselves. Not when somebody else writes their thing. You know what I mean? I think it's like for my biography is my story.
Yeah.
Joel helped me put it in words, and he was very good at that. But this is me talking, and when you read the book, you can see it's me, and you can
Yes.
see the way I
Sounds
speak.
like you. Yeah.
Right. The people that have read the book say you could see, and what I wanted to do this. I wanted to make believe you and I, the reader, are going to sit down at a bar and talk stories. And from the feedback I'm getting, people are really understanding that and they're getting it. And I'm very proud of that. So that's what I want because I don't want somebody dictating my life. I don't think, and Joel didn't want to do that either. We
Yeah.
just wanted to get my stories out, and he did it in my language and the way I speak, and because I just want people to feel comfortable, with the whole vibe. It's like I'm Frank Bello. Who gives a shit? Just this is my life, dude. That's the truth, right?
Sure, for sure. One of my favorite rock biographies is David Lee Roth's
I haven't read that.
from the Heat. Uh, it's a lot of Dave. I could listen to where my wife and I are going to all 5 of the Dave shows in Vegas. We love what Diamond Dave does. But when he turned in the book, he turned in a 700-page manuscript, which leads you to believe that there's 300 to 400 pages somewhere.
Wow.
In your case, was there a lot of cut down? Was there a lot of leftovers in case you wanted to do a second book?
No, but it's funny you say that because after reading this book, people are saying, "When's the second book?" Including Joel. It might be time for and
An
I get it because there's a lot. Yeah, you
Yeah.
think about it, and yeah, I don't know right now because this is so you let go of the. You know what happens? You know this. You let go of your baby. It's like now it's to the world. It's not mine anymore. Almost.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, there's a million more stories. There's everything's in here. And and who knows? Right now, I want to enjoy the moment, but and I don't know. We'll have to see about that. I'm interested. I'm interested though because I found it cathartic. I found
Yeah.
it really cathartic.
And related to that, Janine had a follow-up question, which was your book delves into some of the tragedies and the hardships that you overcame and you dealt with ultimately. Besides therapy, were there any things that really helped you cope or grow as a person and deal with tough situations?
Yeah, it's writing music. I say this in the book, but I wrote the song for my brother Anthony, and
Mhm.
that was when I wrote that song because I couldn't say goodbye to him. Obviously,
Right.
I hadn't seen him a week before he passed, and when somebody gets murdered, when somebody passes like that, you always want to say goodbye, and that song Anthony, um, that I wrote was just a hidden track on an Anthrax record, and you can get it on YouTube if you guys want to watch it, hear it. Um, it was my saying goodbye to him, and I never did that. I never got the chance, and even when I did the vocals for that song, I remember I couldn't get through it. When I was
Right.
writing the chapter, I couldn't get through it. It was so hard. Joel and I had to. I said I had this big box of tissues right here. It was covered. This whole room here was covered with tissues because I couldn't get through because I was reliving the
Imagine.
scene.
Yeah.
And those of you who will read the book and have read it, you'll understand. It's like it was so painful just to be hugging my mom and not having any words. There were no words said, and so I never got a chance to say anything about it. And so we had to go do a tour in Japan 2 or 3 weeks later. Otherwise, we're going to lose a lot of money. I had to do the tour and blah blah blah. So I was in my room. I was just in my room crying. It was. I went to the show. I just asked everybody. I said, "Please, just let me go to the show. Come back. I just want to be in my room." And all I did in my room was cry and
Yeah.
write. And that's really all I had. That was the Beatles, by the way.
Well, I figured you have the great Sergeant Pepper era photo behind you as well on the wall there, the colorful Beatles thing. So Beatles, Kiss. I take it you only listen to bands that have four singers and four songwriters.
Only
Okay.
that's it. And although mine has five, it doesn't it doesn't for me. Look, whatever comes out, you talk about melody. It's always been about melody, melody, melody with me. So um, the Beatles still to this day, who can touch that? Who really? You think about
The
Paul
Who
McCartney.
can maybe touch that, but no.
Who?
Who?
Okay.
The next question comes from James Lance. He actually cleared a lot of the music from that metal show. So that's the small world nature of the metal world. And he
Awesome.
said, I always thought Anthrax embraced more the gritty hardcore sound than the other big four bands. Being the only East Coast counterpart of the big four, what are your thoughts and views? And did you follow any hardcore bands on the scene back then?
Sure. I mean, we used to go to Scott and I and Charlie used to go to Sunday matinees at CBGB's. So there's a lot of great ones. Crumbsuckers, DRI, all these great bands. Agnostic Front, all great bands that, of course that's going to go, you get inspired by that stuff. Of course, we went, just watching these bands play, they're incredible. They're incredible. So yeah, that's definitely in our soul. So yeah, I mean, I love all that stuff and I'm proud of it. It's all great, all great.
Well, recapping some of the things we've spoken about already, we've heard about your appreciation for the greats of rock, and we've heard hardcore stuff, and we've heard hip hop stuff. And that all reminds me, for some reason, my YouTube feed populates with Megadeth backstage videos. I have no idea why Kiko's videos just keep coming up on mine. And before they're coming on stage, Megadeth is jamming jazz. Does that ever happen in Anthrax? Is there a practice room where a surprising genre is being played?
No, if you would come to an Anthrax sound check, uh, backstage, sometimes we have amps put up back there. You'll hear Charlie and I rehearse the Rush, U2, anything else but Anthrax. It really is that. Anything
Yeah.
else that's not Anthrax, you'll hear it. But that is the fun. Charlie and I grew up in the same house. That's how we grew up jamming different songs. You'll hear Kiss. You'll hear anything from the rock genre. I mean, it's just the stuff we grew up on. To be honest, that's what it was. This is the stuff that made us want to be musicians and made us want to write songs. You'll hear in the Anthrax backstage. It's always fun. It's always interesting. Um, I I love doing sound checks with Anthrax because it's probably not going to be an Anthrax song. Not that we're going to play those during the set. You know.
Super interesting you say that. I've heard of bands who only play the songs that they're going to be playing live. And then Billy Joel, I think, is another one, the people who only sound checks with songs that they don't play. He only does covers in the sound check. Has it always been that case with Anthrax, or is that in recent years because you know the songs, you're tight?
You don't. You know what? You don't do the whole set. If you have a problem with one song one night, you'll go over it, right? It's that kind of thing. If you have hearing problems, something like that, or if there's a weirdness in one of the riffs or whatever, you'll fix it. But for the most part, you like to have fun and keep it fresh because you're going to play the songs that night and you want to keep it fresh for the audience. So you don't want to, okay, if there's a problem, we'll fix it, right? But you want to keep that. So why not, as musicians, why don't we just jam something? And that's the fun part about it. And just getting it, like Joey Belladonna, man, or just do a Journey song. He'll sing any Journey song,
Yeah.
right? But that's the whole thing. Get outside the box again and just and it's kind of paying respect to who we are and what we grew up with.
It's technically a cover, but one of your staple songs is Got the Time.
Yeah.
You start off that song.
Yeah.
How do you keep the beat consistent in your head? Like, how do you know you're starting at the right tempo? Do you have a click or anything in your ears?
It's funny you say that. I asked Charlie for a 4 count, 1, 2, 3, 4. This way we're right in time, because sometimes these, when the crowds, especially when you're playing bigger places,
Yeah.
it's so loud you can't hear anything. So I'm going to start the song after that 4. 1, 2, 3. So
Yeah.
you kind of need that timing thing, because on the record you just you don't hear that, right? That's the way it works live, counting.
And another question from James Lance. He said, any reflections on the ascent of Among the Living and touring? He saw you at the Beacon Theater in 87 or 88 and remembers such a turnout. Any thoughts reflecting on those hometown shows? Now, you said earlier that you don't remember everything per se, but hometown shows are different.
Yeah, but since this book, and it's refreshed a lot of this stuff and sparked a lot of great stuff up. Yeah, that the greatest thing about, obviously, you have this rise. You work hard. First off, it's a lot of work. You tour your ass off. You don't stop. You don't come home. You don't come home. You just tour, no matter what. That corner of the world, you just go, and it doesn't matter. When Among the Living came, there was a groundswell that really came up, and you knew there was a vibe in the air that something was happening. So when you say that, and of course the New York shows are incredible, because then you get to see your family and the guest list. Believe me, because I have a big Italian family, and everybody came. That's what I remember. You know what happens in New York when you play New York as a New York band, Anthrax specifically? You don't really think about the show, because you're so worried about the guest list and who's going to be pissed off at you after the show. I didn't get my pass. I didn't get it. Blah, blah. And everybody, and you're not invited over to the Sunday dinner all of a sudden. That's what really happens.
You're not wrong. Having done a little tour management in my life, it's like I was supposed to have a +2. So how have you learned how to successfully navigate that? Has it gotten easier, the New York guest list? Do you check ground rules?
I get the passes in advance and literally hand them out, right? And because your family's your family, you got to take care of family, right? The friends that you know your real friends, and the bullshit friends, right? That's the truth. So the real friends, I'll have either a tour manager, make sure these people, all that stuff. That's the only way, because you're backstage, you can't come out to the crowd, blah blah blah. Please make sure these people get in. They're very important. So they take that, they take it and go with it. So we've gotten really good at that as of late. But in the past, let me tell you something. Those are Among the Living days, specifically then, man. I remember, and that's what I remember. That's what sticks in my mind. Who was mad at me after the show because they didn't get the right passes? I didn't get a backstage pass. They said, I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. This color pass, this different, this got me here, this got me. I'm sorry I played the show. That's what happens.
I think that you also realize, on your level, but the average person may not realize how not exciting backstage is. At the majority of venues, it's uncomfortable. There's so many backpacks on the floor. There's roadies getting in your way regularly. The spread usually isn't that great. Right?
All of the above. And you know what? I don't want to knock down the backstage, because I think there's this image of backstage, like there's parties, there's booze, there's women, and all that stuff. If you come backstage at an Anthrax show, you're looking at some guys checking their emails, just mellowing out, listening to music and stuff. I'm probably stretching my back out for the show for an hour or whatever before the show. You don't see a lot of that. Oh, I'm watching, there's a game on. There's not a lot of that crazy stuff that happens. I mean, in Anthrax, it never really did. There were fun times, but we were never the party kind of vibe backstage. But it was fun. We had our times.
Well, winding down here, 2 quick questions, and then you're a free man.
Sure.
The first question is, one of my favorite Anthrax albums, if not my favorite, is Weve Come For You All. Love that album. And it was off Spotify for years. You couldn't get that due to label difficulties, and it's great to see that it's back. Now, what you were dealing with at that album in that period was, besides the label difficulties, the you should change your name kind of stuff we spoke about before. You spent basically a year making the album, which you didn't do for the majority of albums in your discography. It sounds like it was a really hard album to make, but looking back at it, is it one of the ones that you're very proud of?
Yeah, because of everything you just said. because again, and I have to go back to it. This is it's in within us. It's like a band thing. I don't know if it's a New York thing, whatever you want to call it is. You brush yourself off. You have to make this record. You have to write great songs. It's really important because this is who we are. You can't forget who you are, because no matter how much you're beaten down, whatever they're trying to do, whatever the world has for you, I'm getting up. I'm moving on. And I guess that's the message of the book. If there is a message, it's like, fuck, man. Life throws a lot of shit at you. You can do this. Move on. And I think the band has that. We did it with "We've Come For You All." A lot of great songs on that record. And going back to that record, there's so many songs. Every record, let's face it, you want to play so many songs in a set list. People ask, there's never enough time. There's never. How many songs can you play in a set where people won't be pissed that you didn't play their song, right? So all you can do is try to mix them up as well as you could.
The last thing I want to know, now I've had the pleasure of interviewing Charlie, and that was when his coffee first came out. And
right.
Between you and me, stealing a joke from a friend, I don't know why he didn't call it Attack of the Killer Beans, but that's not my problem, not your problem. Do you have any products like that, or is the book, this wonderful, wonderful book, the only product of yours to purchase?
Right now, it's funny because, and you know what happens when you're in a band now? People approach you. The coffee. I've been approached for the coffee thing. I've been approached about sauce because I'm Italian, about sauces, and I get it. Because I love food. I love food. And maybe because I'm talking to some friends about it and getting it real. I don't want to do anything half-assed. I'm not going to just sell my name out. It doesn't work like that. I want to be involved. But I've been talking to some friends about some stuff. We'll get to that. How about the next interview for that?
Yes. Hey, Marky Ramone has sauce on the market through the Balloon team.
Awesome. It might not be sauce. That's just one of the, you got to make it right. I want to just live it. I want to make sure I'm living it. It's really important to me.
The bottom line is, congratulations on this book. Congratulations in advance on that new Anthrax album. Looking forward to the next New York show. And thanks for the many, many years of great art that you've bestowed on the world. And by the way, the term, oh man, I had the term for the SAG after your day rate. Oh, the scale. Scale.
Scale. Scale. Well, the scale is the level of monies you get and all that stuff. See, that I don't know a lot about that. I need to work more.
You got your Jay Leno scale paycheck.
Yeah, that was scale. Yeah.
Okay. So the bottom line is, thank you again for your time, and looking forward to whatever is next in whatever order, sauce included.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the great questions about the book.
Paltrocast.